about, like, for us who are doing grassroots organizing, we're on the ground just talking to everyday people and trying to get them to join our group or come to our event or whatever it is. Like, we need to make sure that we're being inclusive in our narrative. And it's just for the sake of building unity on the ground. The next step after we have unity on the ground is take it to the legislative, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. And so, you know, I think something that I just want to put on the table is prison abolition. And I know we have the next speaker after me comes from a prison abolition group. I think we can't be afraid of that language of prison abolition, because the current prison system that we know of is based on torture, dehumanization. It's purely punitive, and it's about control. So it goes back to that question, you know, how can we all feel safe on our streets and also acknowledge the worth and humanity of those who commit crimes? Okay. So, you know, I think, like, as far as talking about lines of solidarity, I think the drug war is a place that we can start. Because, you know, instead of talking about immigrants, having more immigrants come in or having less immigrants come in, let's not think about why a lot of people move into this country. A lot of people in their country, they want to stay there. Their families are there, but there's such a sense of insecurity and not feeling safe in their space that they feel like they have to move here. Well, why do they feel like that in those? Well, a lot of the reasons why there's a lot of insecurity in other countries is because of the global drug war that we have perpetuated from this country. And so if, you know, now you've created situations where there's more drug cartels and illegal drug activity going on, and also harsher punishment and more violence in these spaces. And so if, as a country, we can kind of gather our analysis about the global drug war and start making those international lines of solidarity about ending the global drug war, I think that will serve all of its purposes, instead of saying we don't want more immigrants or we do want more immigrants. It's not really about that. You know, humans have been moving around and migrating forever. So I think we just need to look a little bit deeper and understand why. Like, Dayton is a city full of immigrants and refugees, but we all got here for different reasons. People don't just leave their home for no reason. You know, there's a reason why, and I think we need to look a little bit deeper and understand what's going on in these people's countries and how our country affected that and created that situation. You know, I was born in England, but my family grew up in India. And in England, there are a lot of people from India and Pakistan. Well, England used to be in control in India, you know? And then after they pulled out, there was such a feeling of insecurity that people moved to England. So when we, as the U.S., are going into all of these other countries and occupying their territories, and then once we leave, the trend is that people from those countries are going to come here because they see that this is the place that has what was taken from them in their homes. And one other thing that I wanted to talk about was marijuana legalization, because oftentimes people feel like that's the answer, marijuana legalization, at least when talking about mass incarceration. But, you know, and if anyone has heard Michelle Alexander talk, you know how she feels about this, but, you know, legalizing marijuana, it's lowering the number of people who are being arrested for marijuana, but it's not changing the racial disparity. The racial disparity is actually skyrocketing. And so just talking about marijuana legalization is not enough. The benefits of legalization have to be a step towards reparation for the war on drugs. That's the only way that it's going to fully give justice, you know. It's just half of the analysis as we're just talking about legalization. Because currently, in the places where marijuana is legal, you have people who are already rich, who are further profiting off of it. And the people who had been, you know, incarcerated and getting in trouble for the very same thing are still incarcerated, they're still in the system, and their communities are still being incarcerated. So that's not changing just with legalization. The legalization is built on it's built on top of the current regimes of criminalization that we already have. So just attacking something on top isn't going to change what's at the core. And then just to connect back to immigration, smoking marijuana is illegal by the Federal Immigration Act, even if it's legal in your state. And so they had told a story that, you know, there was someone from Colorado who was a recent immigrant from Colorado, and they had gone home and they were entering back into the country, and they were asked if they had smoked marijuana because they had seen that they're from Colorado, and then they actually ended up being detained because of that. So it being legal in your state doesn't necessarily, because it's not legal federally, it doesn't protect immigrants at all. So that's basically, I think, to end off, I think just to go back to the necessity for all of us to have a human rights framework, and then just for the rest of this day, you know, really listening to the analyses, like understanding how women, especially women of color, are affected by this disproportionately, or how black men and women are disproportionately affected, or how immigrants are disproportionately affected. And I think we all need to understand each other's plights and bring that into the spaces once we leave here. You know, we can't just let today be a day of solidarity and we all go back into our silos. I want to hear, you know, when I go back home, I'm going to make sure that whenever I tell a story, my story based on immigration, that I add in that black immigrants face it the worst. You know, if I'm talking about mass incarceration, well, blacks and Latinos, and undocumented, you know, and women. And so it's like we all need to make sure that we bring in all of the analyses and really talk about something deeper like prison abolition, instead of just trying to put band-aids on everything. That's all.
Thank you. Let's take it to the streets. No justice, no peace. Let's take it to the streets. No justice, no peace. Let's take it to the streets. No justice, no peace. Let's take it to the streets. No justice, no peace. Let's take it. We all want to come together so we can all move and march.
Okay.
It's guilty as hell. It's not perfect. They don't kill cops to jail. The whole damn system is guilty as hell. It's not perfect. They don't kill cops to jail. The whole damn system is guilty as hell. The whole damn system is guilty as hell. And not perfect. They don't kill cops to jail. The whole damn system is guilty as hell. Indict, convict, send those killer cops to jail. The whole damn system is guilty as hell. Indict, convict, send those killer cops to jail. The whole damn system is guilty as hell.
Guilty as hell! Guilty as hell! Lawsuit right here. See this day.
Ain't no power like the power of people, cause the power of people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of people, cause the power of people don't stop. Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of people don't stop. Ain't no don't stop. Ain't no power like the power of people, cause the power of people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of people, cause the power of people don't stop. Ain't no power like the power of people, cause the power of people don't stop. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people.
You supposed to show us where we turn.
We ready. We coming. We ready. We coming. We ready. We're coming. We for our justice. We know. I'm Asian and white. No racist hate no more. No more. Let's stand up and fight. Black, Latino, I'm Asian and white. No racist hate no more. No more. Let's stand up and fight.
Y'all doing good. Oh, y'all finished?
All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people.
All power. No people.
All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power
To the people. All power to the people.
All power
To the people. More power to the people. More power
To the people!
More power
To the people!
More power
To the people! To the people! To the people! To the people! Back down. To the people! To the people! To the people! To the people!